Hello everybody, it's Monstertaming coming at you with another Kindred Fates tier list video. Been a little bit since I've done one of these. This time it's going to be a relatively short one as we're just going to be ranking the items, but I'm going to be going into a decent amount of detail about why I've placed each item in the position I placed them at. Now these are the 6 available items currently available in the alpha. We have Aloe, Black Mask, Coffee Bean, Chrysanthemum, Peach, and Rations. And I'll tell you what I like and dislike about each of them and explain my placings. So, first, we're just going to go in order here. I didn't put them in any particular order. But if we take Aloe, I'm going to say Aloe is probably an A rank. Oh yeah, to explain the rankings, S means I think it needs a nerf. A, I think is absolutely perfect. You don't need to change it at all. B, I think it could use a small buff, but doesn't really need it to be viable. C is it has niche uses. D is it's almost unusable, and it might have like 1 or 2 very specific uses, but basically you're never going to really see it get used. So D is a critical need of a rework or buff. C needs a decent buff. B could use a small buff. A is about right. And S needs some level of nerf. So Aloe, I put it at A because one, Ember and Scorch is like by far one of the most common combos you will ever run into in the entire game. Like there's pretty much the bread and butter of Ember is using Scorch, and Burn gives you stagger, so it's a little bit more annoying to deal with the poison, because at least with poison, when you are put on a timer, um, Burn makes it so you're on a little bit slower of a timer, but you're staggered, so it makes it harder to use the time that you have left, and that's kind of why I think it's more important to have Aloe. Like if you have Aloe on a Slifer, for example, you can quickly dart in, steal your opponent's Peach. Even if they hit you with a little bit of a Scorch damage, then you're not going to be burned, and you're not going to basically have your Slifer neutered heavily, but you'll still get their Peach. Or if, as I've seen V Senpai using it with Shovelet, makes your Shovelet a lot more sticky against Embers and makes it so you can actually play Shovelet as an Ember counter more effectively. And overall, it just makes Ember's life a lot harder whenever you have Aloe, because Burn is such a huge power. Probably Ember's best move in the game is Scorch. Scorch is probably like the second best move in the entire game. Maybe third best. Yeah, probably third best move in the game. And this nullifies a good chunk of what makes it so good. So that's kind of why I place Aloe so high. I think it doesn't need to be changed at all. Next up we have Black Mask. Black Mask goes straight into the D. Black Mask is a horrible trap. Like if you don't know exactly what you're doing with it, you will be better off running genuinely no items. If you run a Black Mask on a kinfolk like Ember and then you use Scorch, you're going to kill yourself before your opponent's even down to half health. And it's just horrible when you use it in situations like that. There are very certain situations where Black Mask is good. Slifer using it as a fling item does a decent little bit of damage, probably worth the small amount of damage you take as long as you fling it early. I've used it with Skullkin debuff build, and it worked. It wasn't like brokenly good, but turned Skullkin into like a uber glass cannon. But overall, I stick by the recommendation I made for a change to Black Mask, which was make it more like the red Tearstone ring from the Dark Souls series, which is it just kind of turns on automatically after you get to a certain health level instead of damaging you. So right now it damages you for extra damage. But with this, maybe make it somewhere between 25 and 50% health. It just turns on and then you just do extra damage when you're low health, kind of making it a high risk, high reward item that you can't kill yourself, because there's literally situations with Black Mask that if you're using it with a kinfolk, even if it's a pretty decent build, like I was saying with the Skulk and debuff build, and you just had a little bit of bad luck, maybe misplay here or there, and your opponent has like 2 kinfolk left or something, you're gonna die before you finish off your opponent's kinfolk with it, and it makes it so it's like almost an instant lose in those situations. So I would think it really needs to be reworked to not deal damage to you, but maybe instead activate when you're at low health or something like that. Coffee Bean, I'm going to put it C tier because while Sleep is a staggeringly powerful ability because of how long it lasts and the combos you can get off with it, Coffee Bean just does so much less than everything else. It's like when you compare Coffee Bean to using anything on this list besides Chrysanthemum, besides Black Mask, sorry, you can't help but think that it's just not worth using. Oh, one second. Sorry about that phone call, but um, yeah, you can't help but just thinking that Coffee Bean is just not worth using in comparison to basically any other item in the game. The only time I really get a very good use out of Coffee Bean is whenever I'm using it on Shovelet to get a rest and then wake right back up immediately. You can use it to counter sleep from a Kadoki like it's intended, but at that point you're gambling on your opponent using a Kadoki sleep combo, which is not completely dominating the meta anymore. Um, and there's other ways to deal with Kadoki that you don't really need to do that as long as you play very carefully. So it's like, Coffee Bean doesn't really do enough to justify its existence, in the most part, I think. I don't really know how you would buff Coffee Bean, because sleep definitely doesn't need a buff. It's just, sleep's not as much of a threat as the other abilities, because sleep is way easier to avoid than everything else. So I think Coffee Bean is just kind of something that's like sitting in the C tier because that it has niche use, but it's not super competitive, like you need to have it on your team. But it's not a bad option. Xanthodote, I'm going to put a B rank. Basically everything I said about Aloe also applies to Xanthodote. The only difference being that burn is probably worse than poison, so you don't need Xanthodote as much as you need Aloe. Peach, I'm going to put it high A tier because I almost put it at S tier, almost. But I don't quite think it's broken, but it is by far the best item in the entire game. If you had a ability to put 4 items on your team like you used to, basically everyone ran 4 peaches. With some very rare exceptions here and there. Just, it's an ability that's a must-have. You really can't run a team that doesn't have Peach and then still be competitively viable. The heal is just too strong. The ability to basically get almost like a 1-up is just outrageously good, and it might need a nerf, maybe. Like I said, I'm hesitant. I'm straddling it between S and A here, so I'm putting it at the top of the A tier. But it is definitely amazing. Rations is literally like a worse version of Peach. That's basically the only real way I can describe it. Is it can be better than Peach, but because it heals you over time instead of all at once, there's a chance you might die before you see more than 5 or 10% of your health healed from it. You would have to live a pretty significant time in Kindred Fate's terms with that kinfolk out in the field being active to get as much value out of Rations as you get out of Peach, much less getting significantly more than Peach is like almost never going to happen unless you're using it on somebody like a Kadoki or a Lumala or something. That's why I'm putting it in A tier, because it is absolutely phenomenal when you use it in those situations, because it can kind of just help keep you just out of death's reach. Like you might be like 1 shot away from death, then Rations procs, they hit you, and then you don't die when you would have died. So stuff like that makes Rations very valuable. If you want to use Rations instead of Peach on certain kinfolks, it's not terrible. Like an Ember might get an extra hit or 2 of survivability out of it. Same thing with a Mechit or a Shovelet. Like basically, Rations is literally what you put on a kinfolk that you don't have 2 peaches. Like if you want a peach on a kinfolk, you just put Rations there instead because you put peach on a different one. With like the exception of Lumala or Kadoki, which I think Lumala might genuinely be better with Rations than with peach, and Kadoki is kind of up there too with that. But yeah, that is my tier list. I don't think anything is completely broken besides the chance that Peach might be. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list nonetheless. I hope this has maybe helped you guys understand the items a little bit better. And if you have your own tier list, please comment them down below, or just let me know on my Discord. Discord's link will be in the description as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed these tier lists, because I plan on making another one very soon. It's been Monstertaming, signing off. Hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye. God bless. And see you next time. Bye-bye.